Good morning, coffee moaners. Welcome everybody on this grey, very grey London day. Is it Wednesday? Thursday. Very grey and miserable. So hopefully we can bring some light into your next hour or so, as well as some darkness.
Am I the ant to your deck, or am I the Morecambe to your wise?
You're my Richard to my Judy.
Oh, no, not that. Man.
No, I'm joking.
Morning, Christopher Cundall.
Morning, everybody.
Alison Hump. Leo, we haven't seen you for a while. Can I have a shout out for my new dog, Coda?
Oh my God, your dog, Coda.
Coda. She asked for a shout out. Morning, Sharon Barker, 7448. I think we should definitely reverse Brexit. Well, that's one of our topics this morning. Thank you very much. Let me just run through the running order. We got Trump's tired address. We were all waiting for it, except we weren't, were we really? We were like, no, nobody's going to watch me just rant and ramble and rumble and rimble.
If only he'd had that much energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Is he dying? Is he dead? Is he mad? Is he bad? I think he's all those things, isn't he? So Trump's tired address confirms that the war is to continue. And I have a theory about this, which no one's talking about, because I actually found, although lots of people were saying, oh, I was tired, oh, it was this, oh, it was that, and I found it surprised me what he didn't say. I was surprised what he didn't say, and that leads me to believe that Israel is applying more pressure. But also, unfortunately, we've also got a bit of the speech from Keir Starmer yesterday. Lots of leaders of countries yesterday saying to their nations, stay calm. We've got things under control. Not. I think the Prime Minister of Australia did the same thing. Starmer was like, oh yeah, so quickly get a fucking camera in front of me now. He got a camera in front of him and said something. But really what came out of that was this discussion of closer ties to Europe. Oh, why has the word Europe just become so poisonous, isn't it? Due to the referendum, and not because of Europe, but because of the referendum and reform voters. And so we do want to discuss, so put your Euro Brexit, whether you were pro it, against it, hats on, because there's very many different aspects to that Brexit story. Because could it be actually the thing that the Reform Party are waiting for the other parties to lean into? Because then they can start lying to us again about the benefits of Brexit. So
we're going to ask for a quick yes or no from people, not now, but when we get to the topic on whether you think we need to reverse.
That's the understatement of the year. Raspberry Mojito Girl December, I presume that refers to, says they blew up UK oil field thing in Iran. Yeah, they've blown up quite a few. Yeah. Wish we could revert. Well, we'll get on to that. Hold your thoughts on Brexit.
I wonder if we should go with it first. People
maybe.
Are very,
Should we do Brexit?
Let's do Brexit first.
Okay.
But
just before we do Brexit, no, before you ask the question.
Just because it's quite
I know. Just a breaking news image.
Right. Oh my God. Who's the guy in the middle?
That's the guy she's having an affair with.
Oh.
And that's Kristi Noem on the left. The guy she's allegedly having an affair with in the middle. And her husband, Brian, obviously forgot to disentangle himself from his cosplay.
It was interesting listening to MAGA yesterday, because
you have to come over here on podcast if you don't know what the hell we're talking about.
One of the sort of marks against Kristi Noem from MAGA, because of course they're also deeply religious, was that she was having an affair with the guy in the middle. So obviously this was a hugely shocking story yesterday. And they recalibrated MAGA and started to say, oh, obviously he was gay, so that's why she was having an affair.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I was wondering whether that could legitimize her affairness.
Yeah, but then it's like I said, but she said yesterday she knew nothing about it and was deeply shocked. So that goes out the window.
Ophidia 26 says,
and just because he likes dressing up as a woman doesn't mean he's gay.
No, absolutely, yeah. Can wrap your head around that. It's quite straightforward. Ophidia 26, he doesn't look like a Brian. Let's have another look.
I think he's a Byron.
No, I think he's a Brian.
Oh, some places I've seen
Brian Noem. I think it's Brian. Yeah, they're seismic, aren't they? that is an AI image, by the way.
Oz says not much difference between the husband and the guy she's having. They do look alike,
apart from the size of his chest.
Look, they're very like they've got the same downturned mouth. I suppose that's what happens if you live or you have sex with her. Yeah, they're very alike.
Yeah, quite alike. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. So religious. That section.
They look like twins, says Chrissy.
apart from the chests, obviously. Okay, well, let's talk about Brexit. Let's. Okay, so who here thinks we should return? Who thinks we? How do we frame this? So it's just a yes or no. Who would like to see us reunite with Europe, i.e., reverse Brexit? Say yes. Put your hands up in the room. But of course, if you put your hands up in the room, you can't type, which means we won't know what you're doing. So, is it a yes or is it a no? Yes, you'd like to return to Europe and reverse Brexit, i.e., that means you're a Remainer, isn't it? A Remainer.
Well, no, because there's lots of people that were Brexiteers that now want to because
I know.
of the economic
But when people
disaster.
say remain, they mean they want to remain in Europe, don't they?
Yeah. Remain or a Brexiteer. Everyone so far.
Oh, look, here we go.
Yes.
Stuart G. I voted leave, but wish I hadn't.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, you hear a lot of that on the radio, especially small businesses that were having to deal with Europe. So many of them had to close because of all this ridiculous postal thing.
Yes.
That put a fortune on top of everything that they did. It was so ridiculous.
There's a lot of yeses here. There's a Karen Reynolds has said no. Anyone who says no, perhaps just let us know why not.
Yeah, because maybe for some people it's been better.
And we recognise that could well be the possibility. Sorry, my coffee is so
the
small.
EU is incompatible
with real democratic influence, says Chris 3337. Let's pop that up. What do you mean? What do you mean the EU is? You mean because of the nation states and the votes? It means that. Yeah, I mean this is one of the main arguments is that you hand the wheels of power and the leverages of power to a decentralized, or centralized government rather. But do we really believe democracy works in this country?
I don't.
I mean, that's the bit that
I don't believe it does. I mean, the thing is that no relationship is perfect, right? No relationship, no matter what it is, whether it's with your child, your employer, your employee, your government,
husband.
But you have to look at when you're thinking about divorce, think about all the bonuses and the things that you could possibly put up with. We are now ostracized by America. Putin hates us and we have no cover. And I was listening to a general yesterday on Channel 4 who was saying that most Brits recognize that within 5 years we'll be at war. He said, and within 3.5, we can only last 3.5 weeks. It was to Michael Frey. Is it Frey? Martin Frey was saying that to us.
Matt Fry.
Matt Fry. It's like, Matt Fry didn't really ask him for any better news than that. He let that just pass. But, so I feel very much, and obviously the amount of small businesses that have suffered is huge. I mean, you never turn the radio on with that Brexit discussion without people talking about that. But for me, it's the fear of being so alone. A little island, teeny, weeny island.
Well, I have to. I think we're going to play Starmer in a minute, and I see MeTube seeking to sow division there by suggesting that the Green Party policy is not pro-Europe. As I understand, the overarching policy or attitude of most Green Party members, though, again, the great thing about the Green Party is it's not about party whip. So, is closer proximity to Europe. I know that Zach Polanski's talked about that a lot in terms of defence, and I think in terms of governance, and in terms of human rights, and in terms of immigration and migration. It's interesting that our migrant problem has become infinitely worse since we've been out of Europe, rather than when we were in Europe, where we could share the burden and we could share the solution and potentially share the costs. I mean, I think you either want to collaborate. I mean, one of the problems that Europe has absolutely got, and I think this is an incredibly different set of circumstances to us all pretending that way back when we voted for Brexit, it was all halcyon days and very different. We never thought back then, because we were all fucking stupid, that the relationship with America was only a self-serving relationship with America. I mean, to be brutally honest with you, when you listen to, do you remember when Obama talked about it? It's always been a self-serving relationship for America. America is an interior-looking country. It's isolationist in its essence. So,
except it always would have stood by us, mind you. That's NATO. If Russia wanted to come, I mean, we've got Russian bloody submarines circling us the whole time, haven't we?
Well, that's because we're a tiny little island.
If I was anyway.
Anyway. So all of that said, we are in completely different circumstances, such different circumstances. I'd even go so far, and this is a little kind of political speak to get out of the supposed conundrum, I think even probably most party policies are shifting and changing and realigning as we speak, because what's happening as we speak, as Mark Rutte is getting on a plane to go see the daddy, you gotta go and see the daddy because the daddy's angry. As he flies over to Washington to try and stop Trump from pulling out of NATO, we have some very obviously real concerns. It's a one-way relationship. We're in a gimpified, relationship to America, and we need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet. And I think of all the things Starmer's talked about,
I loved his line.
This is the most sensible.
It's being played all over America,
Which line?
Said, I have had enormous pressure put on. Is that the one you're about to play?
I don't know. I've just got the sort of most watched clip from his speech.
Conflict in the Middle East has now entered a second month. And while we're working at pace for de-escalation and peace, it is now clear that the impact of this war will affect the future of our country. So today I want to reassure the British people that no matter how fierce this storm, we are well placed to weather it, and that we have a long-term plan to emerge from it a stronger and more secure nation. This is not our war. We will not be drawn into the conflict. That is not in our national interest. And the most effective way we can support the cost of living in Britain is to push for de-escalation in the Middle East and a reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which is such a vital route for energy. Brexit did deep damage to our economy, and the opportunities to strengthen our security and cut the cost of living are simply too big to ignore. So, in the coming weeks, we will announce a new summit with our EU partners. And I can tell you that at that summit, the UK will not just ratify existing commitments made at last year's summit. We want to be more ambitious. Closer economic cooperation, closer security cooperation, a partnership that recognises our shared values, our shared interest, and our shared future. And today I can announce that later this week, the Foreign Secretary will host a meeting that brings those nations together for the first time,
I haven't seen this,
where we will assess all viable diplomatic and political measures that we can take to restore freedom of navigation, guarantee the safety of trapped ships and seafarers, and resume the movement of vital commodities.
the other thing that he said, I saw in another clip where he said, I have been put under enormous pressure for this war, but I'm not going to acquiesce. I'm the British Prime Minister. This is not our war, and I will not be a part of it. And I thought, blimey. Anyway, it's being played on TYT and everything. And they're saying, oh, if only we had a politician that actually stood up for their own country and not Israel.
Well, okay, but
they're looking at it through rose-tinted glasses.
I've got 2 points to make here. A, it has become our war. We're allowing bombers to bomb from all of our RAF bases. We are part of the war, and Iran is still considering whether to strike British assets because we are complicit and we are part of the war. He's trying to put a piece of paper between legitimizing genocidal war crime events in a war that's illegal, in the way that he's tried to say that all the bits of F-35s committing genocide are in a pot that we can't get access to.
Why has he done that then?
And let me just find, and the second thought that I pull him up on immediately is, I cannot abide this government, whether it be Yvette Cooper, Keir Starmer, forever and a day saying de-escalation is critical. The only people who need to de-escalate are Israel and America. And all the West, and I'm talking about Europe here specifically, all they ever ask that of is Iran. And Iran forever and a day is going back saying, but hang on a minute, you're not even mentioning the illegality and the escalatory actions of Israel and Iran. So I'm sorry, Starmer, whilst I welcome the shift and the nudge towards recognizing that you were put under pressure, it's not strictly our war, though it's enough our war for us to be in the firing line. So you haven't done that well. I'm not going to I'm not going to garland him in diplomatic
Do you think there's
genius.
any chance? No, God, no.
No, I'm not saying you are, but
and
I think America are looking at it like, No, go on, sorry.
Well, do you, okay, why has the whole of the rest, I know Spain hasn't, I know France is saying no, but what other countries have allowed within Europe that have allowed American bases to be
Can I
used?
just pause you there? Me too. De-escalation is about pointing fingers when one of the countries that escalated has conducted a genocide.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
I mean,
who's in the process of it right now?
I can't sanction the diplomatizing language of a country responsible for the mass slaughter, not only of the people of Gaza, but of the West Bank. And they are about to legally, in legal terms, legally within Israel, murdering Palestinians. When you're in a playground and you have a child in the playground with a gun shooting other children, that you're not treating it like a fight in a playground. Sorry to be so sort of severe on that, but I find the ability of not you, but generally in discussion, of us dragging the most historically appalling acts that have happened, that because they're a little bit behind us now, we've lost the intense heat of them, turning them into diplomatic moments, I find deeply troubling.
Please, please, guys, read this book. It is so brilliant. And it articulates all that so well. You will literally be going, oh my God, the language of the colonizers.
And I hate to say it, I think that, and the language of diplomacy is a colonizing language. Diplomacy is colonization.
Because diplomacy is only for the big guys.
Diplomacy is about making things calm, workable, and returnable to a system that serves a few.
Yeah.
You know, relative to the world, we're part of that few. All of us here.
Yeah, we are. We've got that privilege.
That you're watching us and we're all talking to each other. We're all part of that privilege.
Yeah.
But you know, this word diplomacy that we sort of hold as the, you know, of course there's an art to it, but the art of it is about maintaining the status quo. For who? For you know, and so, you know, de-escalation. Not once have Israel been asked to de-escalate by anyone.
Not once. And you know, they passed the law 2 days ago where they can hang children in a military court. They can be found guilty in a military court. There'll be no pardons, there'll be none. They can hang children. Imagine any other country if they were doing that, what we'd say. Nothing, not a word. Save the Children have just posted about it and said, you know, it's just totally extraordinary that we've got children in military prisons that could be hung. Because you know what they do in Gaza? They throw stones, and that is seen as terrorism.
So he's asking for the name of the book. It's One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This.
And it was written in the first 6 months of Gaza. He's absolutely brilliant. Omar El-Akkad, and it's sashimi. You know, it's just the shortest paragraph, and you can it's just like everything that you've been feeling, you haven't known how to put it into words.
I mean, you know, it's really interesting. There is a sole aggressor in this, and it is Israel, because I saw a really interesting.
Excuse me, and America.
No, and
hand in hand.
No. But if you trust what Marco Rubio said, it was even Israel that dragged America.
But America has funded the whole genocide. But anyway, let's stick a little bit with Brexit.
Okay, well, given that we're talking about Brexit, whilst got any other thoughts to come in, here's Zach Polanski talking about connection with America and how it would mean that we need to pivot more towards Europe.
Recognize how much reliance we have in this country, in the UK, on the United States, particularly for our military. In fact, 86% of our arms exports come from the USA. I don't think that's tenable. Tony Blair said that it would be unthinkable for us to use our nuclear weapon without the assistance of the United States. Now, I think that was problematic 10, 20 years ago. I think it's beyond problematic when Donald Trump is in the White House. And frankly, the words that he's been saying towards Keir Starmer, a man that I don't often defend, have been outrageous. That is not how someone who's supposedly an ally treats another ally. I think we need to rebuild our relationships with our European neighbours. And also, I think we need to look at economic sovereignty for the UK. And that includes energy independence. That includes military independence. It means not relying so heavily on other countries, particularly unpredictable countries like the United States, and actually taking our own real national security and energy security and independence more seriously.
So again, you can absolutely infer from that. But like you're saying, total independence. Here's how I think it could or should work. A sort of step-down process where we are no longer outside of Europe. We have a more connective, cooperative, administratively kind of, working together, relationship with Europe. But again, in terms of, let's go from the macro of Europe and the world to just what's about to potentially hit us in 2030, which is a lack of food security. we're talking about and we're thinking about the ability to become more self-sufficient in terms of food, growing food, sourcing locally, solar panels, all this kind of stuff. Those decisions are decisions that are more immediately doable if you do them and can control them within your own country. So I get that's where Mitri, you will have been nudging us towards, that there's a kind of desire within the Greens to have controllability over our ecological fortune and future, in a sense. But I do genuinely think that whether it be a full reconnection with Europe in the way that it used to be,
I don't think Europe would just have us.
No, I don't think they won't want us to pick and choose.
Yeah.
You know, they'll be like, well, you can't come here and sort of treat us like a sweet shop.
All the drama, all those.
But I do think there needs to be a balance where we don't come out in hives when we say we work with Europe on this, and we equally are able to be masters of our own destiny, if you like, in terms of, you know, if we as a house couldn't do certain things because of rules and regulations throughout Europe, that would be frustrating. So there is a balance to be struck. I just think the rhetoric and the language that's coming out from Starmer and the Greens of stepping closer to Europe is good. I do think it's good. So that's my particular take on it. Our food security will be fine, says Oxidus Magicus. Yes, prices will rise similar to COVID, but it's the poorer countries that will suffer with famine.
Millions are going to die.
Not if the Strait of Hormuz stays. I mean, we will be seen as an ally of America. I don't think we're going to come out of the Strait of Hormuz particularly well, unless, of course, Europe is now behind Trump's back, negotiating heavily with Iran.
That's what they're saying, isn't it? That we will now, and with China, you know, there's a new alliance happening, isn't there? And you know, there will be these massive tariffs to use the Strait of Hormuz, and countries will have to pay them, and then that will affect the cost. But like you say, Mark, it's the poorer countries that are just going to.
Lizzie Russell, Europe won't trust
perish.
Us, surely. That's a good
exactly.
point. This is a great point.
Brexit, I don't think they'll have us.
Claire Willison, Brexit was sold to us about not being subservient to European countries, our actual neighbours. But the same people are happy to be, I love this word, lick-spittles for USA and Trump. Perfectly put.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's really
Badencock, Farage, heads so far up the arse that they are literally sucking on the prostate. It's like Badencock. What a vile. Honestly, the way she talks to interviewers and everything, she's so rude. Actually, we've got a nice little story on her, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Food surely can't go up anymore, says Stuart G.
No, it's going to
Solar
massively.
Panels are expensive for the average household.
Yeah, they are.
Well, at the moment, most of the choices to become self-sufficient are
very
prohibitively expensive.
Well, no, there are lots of amazing deals with solar panels, and lots of them you can do. There are government assistance, and you can pay over a long period of time. There are companies now not charging for installation. And you know what? That is what we all need to do more of anyway. Chris, I said to Mark, do we move over to electric then from our, gas cooker? God, bad cooking on electric. But of course, that's not really an answer either, is it?
Really appreciate Chris 3337. We love different opinions.
Yeah.
The EU is incompatible with real democratic influence. Sorry, I hear what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying. What strikes me as kind of a stumbling block in this thought, let's leave it up just for a moment,
is that we're so ruled by America.
Well, yes.
How democratic is our relationship with America?
What I don't understand with this is how the EU, it's a little bit like making migrants the scapegoat for everything. It's like around Brexit, isn't it weird, the British inclination, it's not just British, but the inclination of nations to have a shared enemy or a defined villain. And so it was EU. Then the EU, we pull out the EU, our migrant problem goes up. Then it's the migrants. Then we could probably solve it with the EU, and then it will be the EU again. But this incompatibility with democratic influence, this presupposes that you think we have democratic influence in our everyday lives. We absolutely don't. And it sounds like a contradiction. I was talking to some Green Party colleagues the other night, and I was saying, unfortunately, one of the things I'm asking people to do is engage in something that I don't at this point believe can do or enact the actual change we need, unless, as the Green Party wants to propose, proportional representation comes in. There's more of a PR sensibility to council elections too. You get more choices, more votes. But, we've got to change the system in a way, and that's got nothing to do with Europe. To sort of say EU makes it we're undemocratic.
Our own
system
is broken. It's not
paying
working.
hock to America. Now, the weirdest thing about all of it is I've noticed reform has gone very quiet. I don't know whether America is not as charmed with Nigel Farage, or Nigel Farage doesn't seem to be being seen or invited as much.
Well, I think also he's a grifter on both sides, isn't he? He's like, he was like, you know, it's like Bangkok. She can hardly mention the war now because she was all like war. But now it's actually very dangerous. They've just sidled backwards.
Yes.
And this is what we do. We just seem to flip-flop between just two parties. It's like, oh, they've driven us to, oh God, nothing's happened, everything's ruined. Let's go over here. And it's like you say, Mark, we've got to do blue sky thinking. We've got to kind of have a bit more of a rock bottom and then go, we can't just carry on like this.
Yes.
You know,
people
will say to me, well,
system.
you know, you really should only vote for Labour or Tories, otherwise reforms are going to get in. It's like, we've got to think better of ourselves than that.
I mean, Gazmondo, every group West calls terrorist was formed in response to occupation and invasion. The UN doesn't designate any of them. Most of the world does. The label is a political weapon, not a legal fact.
Thank you. Can we please play that little girl now? Because it comes off fantastically.
Yeah, is this one of the ones you sent? Keep talking.
The Indian girl. She's so good on this. She's the little girl I showed you last week. She's very smart. I think she's, that one. Just have a listen.
The rules were based on history, then the first nuclear program to be banned would belong to the country that had created an atomic bomb and was the only one to ever use it. It's strange how countries with the longest records of wars, colonization, and global conflicts are the ones making the rules to maintain peace. America was the first to create an atomic bomb, and it was the only one to ever use it in war, not once but twice. Yet somehow the same country decides whether a country should have nuclear weapons or whether it should not.
Perfectly put.
And when countries like India wanted to become nuclear powers, the world said no. Why? We never went around the world colonizing other continents. We never crossed oceans to control other nations. We never tried to rule the planet. And it's not because we were weak. This land was raided for centuries by many powerful empires, last being the British. And no empire wants to travel across the world to control a land that has nothing. So strength was always there, but history was different. A country doesn't feel safe if all the others have nuclear weapons and it does not. So either the world agrees that nuclear weapons are wrong, or it accepts that every country will try to protect itself. Because right now, peace is not based on trust, it's based on deterrence. You can destroy me, I can destroy you, so nobody moves. Fear is the thing keeping this world together.
It's emotional. It really does.
What an amazing girl. I mean, in this terrible age, you think, is she AI? I mean, presumably.
No, she's not. She's amazing.
I mean, she absolutely distills the hypocrisy, the contradictions, the exceptionalism of the West. And that comment, is it Gazmondo? Gazmondo. I don't know if you watched our Coffee Moaning either yesterday or the day before, and I was tiptoeing, because one has to in this country, around the legal definition of terrorist organizations. Because when people talk about Iran supporting proxies, that's really quite patronizing and colonial in and of itself, because those proxies are huge groups of people, populations and fighters and resistance fighters, etc., who have themselves experienced conquest, invasion, occupation, genocide, oppression, apartheid. And so it's all well and good us white people, principally, wandering around the world going, no, you're a terrorist, you're making a little bit too much noise. Yep, you're a terrorist too, you're on a small little island that only grows potatoes, Ireland. You're terrorists. Yes, you're, in fact, let's say everyone who's against us is a terrorist, apart from that country there, because we put them there and we gave them a uniform and called them the IDF, even though they were terrorists to begin with.
You're going to love this book.
It's staggering. It's so obvious as well. It's not even like this is complicated stuff.
Can we just take a little pause for that little girl there? Because
She's
can
brilliant.
you imagine in your wildest dreams the ruler of the world, Trump,
Well, we're
because
gonna
he's
hear from
put
him
the
in a minute.
world
Yeah,
into
yeah.
World War III, being able to articulate what that little girl did, to even understand what she was saying.
He wouldn't know.
See how fucking crazy it is. I think she's about 12, that girl.
Thank you, Gazmondo.
I'd love to put her in front of Trump, in front of all of them.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do in a reverse sort of action. We'll put Trump in front of her. Let's highlight the paucity of Trump's mental acuity off the back of a young girl who has summarized the entire contradiction
Fuck up of the world.
of the planet.
I just want to give you a handle.
Yeah.
Story_time_whispers_.
There you go. You got it.
Story_time_whispers_.
So in contrast to that, we have the leader of and I hate this, the free world. The leader of the free world, for whom most of his population isn't entitled to any kind of healthcare whatsoever. This is him describing what he wants to do. He's used the language before, but let me just characterize this speech in two ways, and we'll go to the Midas touch after just to hear this. It's a very lackluster performance from Trump. He didn't have the courage of his convictions.
Them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong. In the meantime, discussions are ongoing. Regime change was not our goal. We never said regime change, but regime change has occurred because of all of their original leaders' death. They're all dead. The new group is less radical and much more reasonable. Yet if during this period of time no deal is made, we have our eyes on key targets. If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously. We have not hit their oil, even though that's the easiest target of all, because it would not give them even a small chance of survival or rebuilding.
So I think the time is right for a wonderful summary of Donald Trump's speech from, what's the name of the chap at the Midas Touch? This is the guy, it's another YouTube channel, do follow them.
Huge channel. They've got like.
Trump just gave a disastrous address to the nation, perhaps the worst address to the nation in presidential history. We did not bring it live because I needed to fact check it on this video right here. As our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, writes, was the point of Trump's speech tonight to show the nation how badly he's deteriorating with more slurred, low energy, incoherent, nonsensical rambling? If so, mission accomplished. Now, this speech was a disaster on multiple fronts, showing Donald Trump's physical and cognitive deterioration, and also the markets have not been responding to it well. Oil prices are surging following tonight's address by Donald Trump regarding his unlawful war in Iran. The crude oil has now surpassed $103 per barrel, while Brent crude oil approached $106 per barrel. We expect that to only get higher. The market's not liking this. The American people not liking this. Our allies disgusted. The enemies of the United States laughing. Let me show you what went down. Donald Trump began by saying, "We have all the cards. They have none of the cards. I have all of the cards." What cards are you referring to, Donald? They control the Strait of Hormuz. Isn't that the card? The Strait of Hormuz card? Here, play this clip.
We have all the cards. They have none. It's very important that we keep this conflict in perspective.
And then Donald Trump says, but if we don't make a deal, if there's no deal, we are going to commit war crimes. He doesn't say war crimes, but he says we will hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard, and also probably simultaneously. Thanks for the clarification on simultaneously. And you just admitted to committing war crimes because that's an attack on civilian infrastructure. Let's play this clip.
Yet if during this period of time no deal is made, we have our eyes on key targets. If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously.
Simultaneously. That's his word of the bloody week. Honestly, next to that little girl, get her to go and sort this shitty mess out, I tell you.
Victoria Moore says Melania needs to switch up his meds and do us all a
She
favor.
does.
slurring, talking shit, Stone Age bollocks.
And amplifying his desire to carry out more war crimes. I mean, you cannot. I mean, this is just like Gaza. Cut off all their electricity, cut off their water. There's over 90 million people in this country. He never mentions the people, like he says in Midas Touch, say the regime, you know, and have some distinction between the fact that there is a fucking population there.
That's very complicated nuance.
He
for
can't
Donald
do
Trump.
that.
He can't nuance, you know, distinguishing between the leaders of a country, the army of a country, and the population.
He can't do it.
It's
he
too nuanced.
He doesn't have the cognitive
he hasn't
ability.
got the bandwidth.
No, he doesn't have the brain.
Doesn't have the brain. But I just want to share my thoughts on this, because I said to Nance this morning, I said one of the things I was surprised by when I woke up was that he was less kind of overt in saying we've won. I mean, he's been saying we've won. America's won this
every
war
day,
every single
the last
day.
month.
Yesterday, Iran published or released a 3-page letter outlining, interestingly, it's all over social media, it's very long, so I sort of refrained from pulling it up here, but they talk at great length in that letter about the history of Iran, the great long tradition of the country. It's an ancient culture, how they have rarely, if ever, engaged in aggressive overreaches into other countries, etc. They remind us of the hostilities of Israel and America in the region. And they do point towards potentially a future where, if America and Israel want to continue with this, things could get infinitely worse. Because what's kind of come out of this is it's demonstrated, you know, by stealth, really, that Iran is incredibly resilient. I mean, I posted something on Coffee Moaning this morning where the familiar guy who's the head of the IRGC or head of their military command said, you haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg when it comes to our weaponry. Now, of course, on both sides, there's propaganda being spouted out.
You don't know what to believe in.
But the point is, they haven't won the war. And I was just surprised. Part of me last night, or when I woke up this morning, looked at Donald Trump. He looked like he looked after he met Putin.
And he was shuddering.
And he was chagrined, wasn't he? He'd been slapped around the face with a kipper. And
for sure.
he looked the same as he's looked each time Benjamin Netanyahu has visited him. I couldn't help but feel that between announcing he was going to do this speech or address of the nation last night and doing it, someone somewhere said, Donald, you're going to have to stay there, because he said another 2 or 3 weeks. He's been saying 2 or 3 weeks for the last 4 weeks.
Mark, he's so compromised. The amount of the hundreds of millions that he's taken from Edelweiss and various people. I mean, he is an absolute liability now, because all that wealth that's been pouring in for his family is all tied up in this as well. And let's not forget the Epstein files, which of course we have all forgotten and we don't talk about anymore. You know, it the Epstein War, it was being called. Even that now has faded away.
Yes.
And we were listening to a very interesting guy yesterday, weren't we? We said the whole world.
This is on Breaking Points.
This is on Breaking Points. He is a professor at Chicago University. He studies, he does modeling. He's obviously like an incredibly bright chap, isn't he? They were very deferential to him. And he was quite scary, actually. He said, listen, NATO is dead. NATO is finished. Now it's about the obituaries. He said, imagine, and I didn't realize this, that it's actually American generals that the rest of NATO have to obey.
Yeah.
So he was saying, can you imagine the UK? Like, I don't know the name of their top general in America, but, you know, obviously he's going to be a nutcase, isn't he? Because Trump's put him in. He said the UK aren't going to, France aren't going to, they're not going to do this. This has happened anyway before this. And the other thing is, as Trump gets so furious and is slagging us all off and not coming into the war, a war that we didn't start, that's actually got nothing to do with NATO, because a NATO country did not hit Iran or Israel. That's how you trigger the other NATO countries to come to your aid.
Yes.
So the whole thing is nonsensical anyway, because
you're right.
The world is not obliged under NATO. So when he says, well, NATO hasn't come and helped us, no, he hasn't read what the meaning of it is.
I'll tell you exactly.
They're not obliged to.
The playbook as it stands, because like Nadia was asking last night, do you think this was always the strategy with the Strait of Hormuz? I don't think it was necessarily the conscious specific strategy, but I think mission creep is a common part of any war or any conflict, isn't it? And I think mission creep has got to a place where they now know that the Strait of Hormuz will hobble vast numbers of economies around the world who are competitors with America. I feel that America is very much going to pull out of NATO. That's why Mark Rutte is off to see the daddy as we speak. There's kind of an emergency. They're not calling it an emergency meeting, but Donald Trump made it very clear in an interview with The Telegraph that he is considering very seriously leaving NATO. And I feel there's no real threat there anymore because we've always suspected it. We felt it in his first presidency. And now the rooster, the chickens are coming home to roost. What I think will happen is that he's going to cut Europe adrift. He's going to pull all support that there is out of Ukraine. He's going to leave Europe vulnerable to deal with Ukraine. And I mean, you know, at that point, we have virtually nothing of any note, do we, to kind of defend ourselves. He's going to leave. If Israel stops using the compromat to keep Donald Trump in the Middle East, Israel is going to carry on the war against Iran. But Israel, I just had this really strong suspicion that he would have been more about getting out of the war and having won the war even more in this speech, and that actually we've accomplished our goals and we're now. But he hasn't fully disentangled in the way that I was expecting him to, and that leads me to think that Israel, whenever Israel goes quiet, they are inconspicuous or conspicuous by their silence. It's like, what the hell's going on?
But also, I said to Mark yesterday, nobody talks about Project 2025 anymore, and I said, what if all of them, Hegg's Breath, Trump, all of them are just very convenient goons, and behind them are the architects of the Project 2025, continuing on with the plan. So I said that yesterday, and then lo and behold, was listening to Simon Marks, who I absolutely love. He's my favourite commentator, I think, British one, talking to James O'Brien on LBC. And you know, he one of the things he said is, this is the most serious day for all. We've never had a more serious day in all of our lives than today, because he 100% believed that Trump was going to say that NATO is dead. He said, any of us haven't lived through that with no NATO, and it's so serious. Most serious day of our life, that's what he said. Anyway, towards the end of the chat, when James O'Brien was still pontificating on, is it this and it's that, he said, he calmed it all down. He said, it's Project 2025 as it's written, step by step by step. And I found that so chilling. And we need to look into Project 2025 more. Yeah, it's 941 pages.
I'm going to read some more of your comments, then we're going to have a funny. The ultimate psychopath, says Al-Zoran. I hope you're well, Al-Zoran. The files are being covered up with him at the center of it all while they let the world burn down. All for their sick, disgusting perversions. I want to just share.
What do you think about it possibly being Project 2025? And it is actually the plan.
Well.
When they say, "Oh, we knew about Strait of Hormuz," maybe it was because they knew that it was going to be shut down.
Well, you know, when we discussed the whole, let me just read this. Well, all the US equipment from bases in Europe will have somewhere to go now. He can't have his ball if he leaves NATO. And Christopher Kundal was saying, seriously, if Zelensky is so good at drone manufacturing, surely one can accidentally go off track and miraculously get the giant.
No, because he's got his bulletproof glass bunker now, hasn't
he? The art of the assassination, he says, as a radical left lunatic or whatever my top says. You know, when we talked about Tyler Robinson and people who, you know, and how it can be an inside job, it can be a cover up, how people who have gripes can be groomed and exploited by intelligence services to carry out their actions. And what's the most important part of all of that grooming dynamic of getting people to do things on your behalf, as I say, an intelligence agency, or say in this instance, Project 2025, think of them as the intelligence agency, is that what's the phrase? The patsy that does it, i.e. the person who's kind of got the gun and is off, you know, right, I'm going to do the damage.
It's the cover.
They're the cover. And the reason they're effective cover is they rarely are themselves doing it for the reason that the people who've got them to do it are wanting him to do it. Do you get me? So they're doing it for some other reason. And so what I think is happening with Trump, you're right, and I think perhaps Rubio, I don't know how far back it reaches, Trump is the groomed idiot, though he doesn't have to be groomed too much. You just keep shoveling him out front. He keeps saying stuff that operates for you. He's unaware that this is, or he is aware, or just doesn't care. He just doesn't care. So I think you're right. What I'm trying to say is I think you're right. I think there are numerous assets, if you like, for the system, the Project 2025 system, who, even if they couldn't articulate it themselves, are doing everything that's Kash Patel. Yeah, and I think all of them have compromise on all of them.
I had another low moment yesterday. There are so many now, aren't they? Where James started to read out actually the agreement that Biden had set in stone, that you cannot just unilaterally pull out of NATO. No prime minister did. And then they both just collapsed in on it. Simon Marks and James O'Brien, they both went, yeah, but this is Trump. He's every law, he just rolls, he just stamps all over it, doesn't he? That is a dictator. So there are no protections.
Hannah says, I agree with Nadia, as I also believe it's Project 2025 at the core of it is massaging Trump's ego.
Yeah, Trump doesn't know how much he's being used.
Yeah, exactly. Trina Cotton, diffusing my pearls whilst I watch.
He's a useful idiot.
Useful idiot. Doodle Flap. It is Project 2025. Yeah. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Acknowledged weeks ago, what is happening is exactly what they said they do in 2024.
And Zateo News, what's the guy's name at Zateo News? God, I can't believe I can't think of it. Mehdi Hassan. A year ago, because it's 941 pages, he's a brilliant brain, isn't he? He distilled it into 2 minutes. So if you search it, you can get 2 minutes of it. Right. You can get it all in 2 minutes. Should we have a little break?
So we'll have a little break. We're going to have a funny. Do you need to line this one up, or do we just hit play?
Just a little girl, just making sure she gets Mexican food.
Okay. Women be like, it says on the text over the image.
Yes, he is. No, I'm not. Yeah, he is. You know, Mexicans, it did something. I don't want Mexican. Yes, you do. You want to stay in here? Yeah. Okay. We don't want nothing? No. Say yeah. I don't want nothing. No, say yes. I don't want nothing. No, say yes. Okay, yes. Okay, good. Where are we going?
Oh, I like that. Nice
yes, I love that. I love it when little girls are just being completely manipulative.
So from one funny toddler to a scary toddler.
France, Macron, whose wife treats him extremely badly. And he's still recovering from the right to the jaw. And I say, Emmanuel, we'd love to have some help in the Gulf, even though we're setting records and knocking out bad people and knocking out ballistic missiles. We'd love to have some help. If you could you please send ships immediately? No. We cannot do that, Donald. We can do that after the war is won. I said, no, I don't need after the war is won, Emmanuel. Many of them said, we'll be there after the war is completed.
Did you see that?
Right.
Did you see what he let slip there?
Yeah.
Send them immediately.
Yeah. Ches, thank you so much. 20 gifted memberships. There is a No Name Sunday show. That's so generous of you.
Please thank
kind.
Ches if you get
an anonymous gifted membership. Yeah.
And we're live tonight at 7:00. No politics, food and fun.
I just want to read this. Chris 3337. We're having a little bit of terse chat there about Brexit. Your channel is the only one who gives me cognitive dissonance. I know, it's the lurch towards humor, isn't it? It's a kind of outlet for all of us just to kind of escape.
And on that, could you please hit the subscribe button? We'd really like to get these videos out to more people. And the like button.
Yeah.
You just do those. It doesn't cost you anything.
So a couple of other just sort of like topics that I just want to flag up.
I've got a really nice heartwarming story at the end for you guys.
Tired looking Trump. The reason this is significant, I think, this is an image and a headline in The Telegraph, which was the paper with whom he did the interview regarding NATO. Tired looking Trump has run out of things to say. At the same time, his former attorney, Trump's former attorney, cites the 25th Amendment as he calls President insane. Trump's former White House lawyer says he is clearly insane. Sorry.
But he is.
I know, I don't know why I'm finding it so funny. And questions the president's mental fitness.
Will that have any effect anywhere?
Former White House lawyer believes that President Trump has gone insane. The cabinet will not invoke the 25th Amendment for a man who's clearly insane. Ty Cobb, who served as senior attorney during the first term of Trump's presidency, said in an interview with CNN. Cobb argued that the ongoing war with Iran, his ballroom project, and the president's late-night social media tirades are evidence of a declining mental state. Definitely. Trump historically and continuously has been guided exclusively by his narcissism. His whims, desires, impulses have been on full display. We're going to see more and more crazy stuff. You ain't seen nothing yet.
And the thing is, yesterday they were saying, you know, all through his life, he gets bored when there's a bit of a mess and he gets somebody else to sort it out. And he has got bored with the war. Everyone's saying that. Yeah. The rest of his politics shows that they, you know, they've got their moles, haven't they? He is bored and he wants to go to Mar-a-Lago and he wants to just play golf.
Yes.
And he wants this to pass on because he doesn't like these headlines. He's always got to be the star of the show. But there ain't anyone who can clear this shit up for him. Mm. And it's very, very scary. And this chap we were listening to yesterday, you can watch it on Breaking Points, the interview. He was saying, you know, that we have got a new access of power, a new world order. Mm. Iran, whoever has the most oil, and Iran is the most powerful. And things are going to change massively across the world. What was his name?
He's annoyed that Netanyahu tricked him into believing it would be like the 12-day war. I don't think he did. It's compromise. Netanyahu waved the Polaroids, and basically he waved them again yesterday, which is why
everyone needs to start talking about the Epstein files again.
Yeah, everyone needs to start talking about the Epstein files again. You know, we have, you know, they've barely been touched.
Because once those are out, whatever it is he's done, then I think he's paddling. Then it's all over.
I think he's simply paddling for time for when eventually he knows even he has to die. I just want to read latest news story from the Middle East or on the Middle East. China has, I was going to say waded in, but that suggests sort of almost a disregard for things. Quite the opposite. China blames the US and Israeli attacks on Iran for the Strait of Hormuz strait closure. China has sought to clarify the original cause of the closure of the Hormuz Strait, stating that it was the US and Israeli strikes on Iran that have effectively brought the strait to a halt. When asked by reporters to comment on the US president's speech last night, MOANING, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, said it needs to be remembered that the root cause of interruptions to navigation through the Strait of Hormuz are down to the United States and Israel's illegal military operations against Iran. That can't be said too often. It's illegal. It was an illegal war. Donald Trump, you know, the problem Donald Trump, and I think the reason he's reticent to have troops on the ground is as soon as you get troops on the ground, it becomes much harder to describe it as anything other than a war. I mean, he can only use the word war because that's the only word in his vocabulary.
So I've got the interview here that we watched yesterday. It's Professor Robert Pape.
I love him.
P-A-P-E. He's amazing on Substack as well.
He is, yeah.
And it was on the Breaking Points YouTube channel, and it was titled "New World Power, NATO Dead." It was fascinating, wasn't it, Mark?
Yeah, really, and he's really good. He pops up quite a few times on Breaking Points.
All over the place, actually.
Yeah. I just want to, sorry, just bear with me. Right. I just want to share this story. Obviously, we're in sort of campaigning process, aren't we? We've got the local elections May 7th. Obviously, it's about local issues, but also it kind of is a nationwide election. This headline and this story, which I've posted about on my Instagram, goes to the heart, though reform aren't necessarily a threat in all seats across the country. This just goes to the heart of the inhumanity and the total moral vacuity and emptiness that can sometimes be felt, not in reform voters, because I genuinely believe some people who are tilting towards reform feel they've got no other voice,
exactly.
And that
they don't
I think
feel
is
heard.
Unfortunate. Whereas those who are in control of the Reform Party are unforgivable. Here's the headline. Starmer calls on reform to sack Simon Dudley after his "everyone dies" Grenfell comments. This is staggering and unbelievable. Simon Dudley, former head of Homes England, announced in February he was joining Reform as Nigel Farage said he was planning to bring more experts on board. However, the new Reform housing spokesperson immediately became embroiled in controversy after he gave an interview to Inside Housing magazine, in which he described building safety regulations introduced after the 2017 Grenfell tragedy as regulation which is not working. He said of Grenfell, "That was a tragedy. It was a failure. Sadly, everyone dies in the end. It's just how you go, right?" Everyone
People don't
dies
care.
in the end.
Follow Reform Are Not Your Friends on Instagram. They every day they post gobsmacking facts on really how little they do care. Just like Trump. Trump got in making MAGA think that he cared and that he listened and that he was one of them. And Farage is doing the same. God, he's been so quiet though, hasn't he? I wonder what he's up to.
I think he's so quiet. I mean, he really is quiet, and and I just wonder whether, I don't know, whether he's got bored too. Is it all too much hassle?
Well, yeah, because he doesn't like to be interrogated in any way, doesn't he?
Doesn't like to be
very
challenged.
cross.
Doesn't like to. I mean, I'm
gets-
just seeing that this is just settling in. Yeah. I mean, it's a hideous
Couldn't
dismissal.
believe it this morning, could we, when we read that? I actually thought it was some sick joke.
And whilst one can't prove definitively that the reason he has such a throwaway attitude to the value and sanctity of human life is because of where it was or who principally was involved in the Latimer Road, tower block burning to the ground. I mean, it's just hideous. It's just hideous. And
Head of housing, folks.
And it's not even so we're not talking about policy, we're talking about just a sensibility.
And again, we've got the front row seat to America. We've got a Fox News weekend presenter in charge of this goddamn World War III. And look, it's a similar, it feels like everyone that we hear Farage puts into position, there's no real thought about it.
Breaking news, has he been fired? I'm just looking at this. Grenfell survivors call Reform UK housing. Sorry, I'm just checking this.
No, I don't think he will be fired. I
Reform's
think
new housing. No, he has. Reform's new housing chief has just been sacked over his comments about Grenfell Tower victims, which survivors and families call deeply dehumanizing.
Good.
Well, again, and that's such good news, and that's as it should be. But just pause. If you're kind of not reformed through and through, and you're not basically a self-declared racist, just think to yourself, do I really want to get on board with a party where someone can take such a dismissive attitude to life, can think of things, or even just articulate things in that way? We all have moments where we're a bit loose-lipped, or we misjudge or misread it. But that was an interview with a publication.
Yeah, so even if he misspoke, or whatever it is people say now when they've said something absolutely appalling, you can't have somebody that can misspeak in such a way. It is unforgivable. So, well, I have to say, I thought they were going to try and talk their way out of that. But
yeah, no, that's good. That's good news. That's good news. And just also, Sky News reporting that the latest breaking news there is the Iranian army have told Iranian soldiers to be ready for US ground troops as oil price rises happen everywhere. And I just want to show you this image, because I know it's going to drive Nadia insane. Meanwhile, whilst the world is going to hell in a handcart, we're supposed to get excited about this.
Oh, don't.
Telegraph, humanity's
How much
next
money?
Great voyage begins. I'll tell you what, we've made such a pig's ear of this voyage. I don't think we should be doing any new voyages.
Just refuse us. Don't allow us to come anywhere near wherever you are.
They're going to the moon. They're going to the dark. I think they're going round the moon. I mean, and of course, the sci-fi space junkie.
I heard someone
I like all
talking
that stuff,
on it.
but right now, totally wrong.
Came in again halfway through in an interview, and it was saying, why is it so important that we get there first and that you didn't? So that it can be a safe thing. The answers was all about how, couldn't
money.
let China, couldn't let Russia get there first. It's got to be the West because, decency and all of this. I'm just like, you can't sell us this shit at the moment, I'm afraid.
The only thing
We're causing havoc.
The only thing that you can say about them getting to the moon, unless there's one big unwholesome surprise on the dark side of the moon, who knows? Maybe a lot of people, they're just going, fucking hell, keep out the way. There's no one there for them to genocide, because that's traditionally what we do, isn't it? When we find new territory, we occupy it, colonize it. There's no one to colonize unless they're all hiding. But that's what it's about. It's about mineral resources and the rest of it, isn't it? Do you want to, shall we just quickly mention this? This is a good story, because Kemi Badenoch just made a speech calling for new North Sea drilling
from Greenpeace
at an oil rig owned by a fossil fuel executive who donated £250,000 to the Conservatives.
Do you hear that?
Yeah.
And she was all over all the interviews on Sunday saying, it's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Starmer knows exactly what he's got to do, drill. And no matter how many times she's told that it will take years and it's not going to make any difference to oil prices now, she doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. So the Greenpeace,
and she just argues the same point.
And we've seen this quote in a lot of places. Robin Williams, remember, he once said politicians should wear sponsor jackets like NASCAR drivers, then we know who owns them. And so Greenpeace have done the job for us. There's Kemi with her various Exxon, Shell,
where's her
BP.
Friends of Israel?
And then we have, oh look, Nigel Farage with all of his, Amazon, X, Daily Mail, BAE Systems. Oh, just, you know, it's just, you know what, if this was in, you know, the Squid Games, you know the posh people in Squid Games are basically making everyone, it's their entertainment. We're looking at them looking at everyone else.
We point the finger all over the world at the corrupt governments.
Yeah.
Well, if you're taking money and then you're selling something that is clearly not going to help anyone in this particular crisis, surely there should be some sort of comeback.
Okay, so Nadia has a nice story, and I believe it's the one attached to this carousel, isn't it? It's this story. I think I didn't have the front image, so bear with me one sec.
That's the front image with the dress. So we don't need to read it because I'll just tell you the story and you can just keep the images going if you like. So this lady, she was in a store and she was trying on her dress and she sent her photo to a friend for an opinion. Keep them going, front and back. And she then got a text from a gentleman that said, I believe this message was intended for someone else. My wife isn't home, so I couldn't get her opinion, but the kids and I think you look stunning in your dress. You should definitely get that one. Go with that one. Okay. Go across. So along with the message, he sent a very sweet photo with 5 smiling children giving thumbs up, approving the dress. So when she sent this to her friend, because she thought it was so sweet, she decided to post it on social media, right? So she did. Her friend posted it on social media. The post went viral quickly, but people noticed one detail. In his bio, the man said he was the father of 6 children, and in the photo, there was only 5. The question began to arise, where was the other child? Don't you love the internet? Yeah. Wait for this. So it was then he shared that his 6th son was in hospital receiving treatment for leukemia, right? So then the same internet that shared the conversation began to do something else, look for ways to help the family. You know what's coming next. People found the fundraiser and donated thousands upon thousands of dollars. Guess what? There he's going to cry.
Oh my God.
Thanks to the solidarity of so many people, the boy managed to go through all the treatment and today he is well.
Oh my God, that's so gorgeous. Oh, that's so nice.
But imagine the detail. Looked in the bio, it's got 6 children. Where's the 6th child?
Yeah.
Because when I saw it, when I clicked on this, it said, I think it's viral and a child's life was saved. I thought, this is the world we're in. Oh my God, there's 5 children. There's one hidden in a cupboard underneath. I thought the child was going to be abused or something awful happened, but no. Yeah. Isn't that just so heartwarming?
That's really heartwarming.
So many good people out.
Story.
We're always hearing about all the bad stuff on the internet, but so much good stuff happens too.
Well, there you go, guys. That's such a nice story. Oh, so beautiful, says Natasha Timros. See, there is still good in the world. There is more good, says MeTube, in the world than bad.
Do you want to see a funny bus driver who's does anyone else get pissed off when people just get on the bus and are rude? Now, sometimes people get on the bus and they say, "Oh, I haven't got enough money. You know, can I get on the bus?" Or did I not post it? Okay, we'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, sorry, we haven't got it. I do apologize.
So hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and the like button. And members, there'll be politics free live little vlog at 7 o'clock tonight. Be there or be square, and there's lots of new ones. Thank you so much again for those that gifted.
Yes, thank you. And Christopher says, just want to say on a personal note, I've had a rough week with nerve pain down since the anniversary of my backup going on. Coffee moaning in this community has saved me. It's everything. And you have contributed so much to other people.
You are such an important part of our community, and honestly, Christopher has gifted many of you. You won't know this. You know, altruistically has gifted you monthly memberships. So Christopher, we will send you the hugest of hugs, and thank you so much. And 1 minute at a time, maybe today.
Yeah, and thank you. Yeah, take it 1 minute at a time. And thank you to everyone who is of a slightly different political persuasion, sharing your thoughts and having a discussion politely and with kindness and respect. fantastic. That's the way to do it. All right, guys, have a great day. Bye.